Hello and welcome back to the Remembering Tuscola webcast. I'm David Porter. I'm here with Bob Taylor, Alan Michener, Bill Englehart, and how's everything going?
We're all
Going
still
well, I
kicking.
think.
We're all still kicking.
A shout out to Mike, who we know is watching, and we'll hope to see him soon.
Well, his spirit is still with us. He's somewhat unsettled by the
Well,
two new.
he hasn't died, so
No, not yet, but he's unsettled about the pictures in the paper. You know, we used to have just the three of us, and now we've added two more pictures, and that's somewhat portrait pictures. He's a little bit unsettled with that.
Mhm.
Well,
oh
those two really
on the
add
ad
to that picture,
Oh yeah.
on the ad in the paper you're talking about.
though.
You talking about
So
Bill? You talking about the ad in the paper?
yes,
Yeah.
yes. So.
Well,
Mike
Scott,
also had a couple of comments in
well,
regards to the football
hang
pictures.
hang on before you get into that. It's not the fact that we've added the other picture to the ad. It's that
Oh,
they're on top.
Well, that could be.
Right.
That could be. That's where they need to be.
Yeah.
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 This
Well, I
is,
honestly figured that was our only compensation.
That is
Yeah,
on
that's really
compensation.
that probably is it.
yeah.
I was waiting on the trophy from the award that we won, but I haven't seen any of that either.
Yeah.
Yeah. We,
Yeah,
yeah,
Yeah.
that
we
award
won that trophy.
was based on last year's
Oh, I see. I see.
stuff. So, oh, oh,
This
well,
will put them over the top
this
for
will put
next
him over the top. Now he thinks you're trying to steal his trophy.
Yeah,
year.
yeah, that's right. Yeah. Yeah.
well, here's what Mike had to say about the football pictures from last week. I did have it right on Jim Perry, number 12, the quarterback. He thinks number 40 was Bob Travis. And he thinks the far right hand side of that picture was Jim Baird.
Did I find the picture?
Well, I don't know.
I didn't think it went back to that era, those pictures.
You know what? I do think that's Perry, honestly, number
Yeah.
12. I
Well,
think
that's the right
Perry.
class. Baird was in that class. Jim Baird
They're,
would have been in class of
they
60.
were all together.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they were.
And so he was kind of adamant about that. And let's see, there was someone else who was on the ground, and I can't remember. He thought that was someone too.
He
But
thought it was someone.
Well,
well, someone is someone, but
were,
someone who we knew.
were those the same
Played
pictures,
football.
Bill, that
Pardon?
had, were those the same pictures that had Don Rumley as a coach? That we thought was Rumley?
I believe they were
Because
about
those
that.
guys would have been graduated before Rumley got here.
Is this the picture?
Well, what? There you go. Here we go.
No, this is a different one. Yeah.
That's a different one.
Well,
Well, he said, now that I look at that,
well, you know what? That may go back to then because there's 40,
there's 40, there's out there on the right hand
it's
side
12.
as 50.
Yeah.
It looks like 50 would he thought was Baird.
Mhm.
12 is Perry. I have no idea who 53 is, and I think he had an idea, but I'm not going to
Okay.
hold to it.
Yeah, that's not the picture I was thinking of.
I don't know if we had any others.
No, I think that's the picture that he was referring to.
Yeah, the one I was thinking of was a practice picture.
Oh,
Oh, well, Rumbley did help with football.
Yes, but Rumley was. I don't know if he came the year before we were freshmen or not, but I believe that ended up being his last year here too.
Okay.
I don't remember how many years was he here.
Well,
Just one or two?
just
He
one or
was
two.
here. I'll tell you what, when I was in the eighth grade, I'd finished my eighth grade basketball season. He invited me to come to like an open gym thing at the high school. Rumbly did. And he had a couple of the varsity players there. And seemed like myself, and maybe there was someone. Anyway, it was a mix of freshmen uh, who had already played as freshmen, myself. But our mentor that day was Ed Alexander, who
Oh
we were
boy.
playing
Oh
against.
boy.
Yeah. So I think that's what you call Rumbly saying, boys, this is the real deal. This is what you can look forward to. Anyway, it was a great time. I remember. See, that would have been 62, spring of 62. And
Be
Rumbly
right.
had been the head basketball coach because they won the regional that year.
Won the regional. That's when we were freshmen.
You were freshman.
But I don't think he was back for our
He
sophomore
wasn't.
year. Bob Arnold.
And you know what?
Yeah,
that
go
was
ahead.
my disappointment because Bob
Sure.
Arnold came.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Arnold and I got along great, but he didn't like the way I played, I guess. I don't know. Rumbly did. But yeah, that would have been his last year. He got out.
Yeah.
Heck of a coach.
He
And
got
I
taken.
think we said
but he
Gene
got
Murray
taken
always
out.
Gene Murray said he's the smartest guy he ever knew.
Yeah. Well, he was a lawyer too. I
He
believe,
became a
wasn't he?
lawyer.
Yes.
He'd been a math teacher, I think. Yeah. Good at kicking cameras.
Yes, he was. That's what took him out.
Mm-hmm.
He got a field goal.
Boy, he did. Okay, David.
All
All right, we ready?
Yep.
Let her rip.
I know we had one similar to this last week, if not this one. Do we have this one?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we did, but I can't. And we identified some of those. We thought anyway.
Diane Robinson in that.
Yes.
Well,
yes.
I knew we had this one. I didn't know if we did this one.
Yeah, because we talked about the boy with the pencil behind his ear.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, he's in this one too.
yeah.
But this one, who's the boy looking out the window?
You know what?
I don't know.
Could you back up just one? That looks like a Wilhelm. See that boy yawning
Yeah.
over there on the right?
Yeah.
Uh,
I thought that boy in the striped shirt, I thought originally was Dave Lecker,
Right.
but it's not because that's too young. I mean, that wasn't the right time frame. He would have been too.
Yeah.
Dave
you would have
older.
been. I mean, you're ahead of Diane, so you guys are a lot bigger. I mean, by
Right.
then. Yeah.
Well,
I wonder if that little boy in the very front there in the middle looks like he looks like Billy Evans, but I don't think so. The more I look at it, because Bill would have been older than that too. He was older.
Bill was he's the same class as
He's
Diane.
in your class still. Yeah.
I would have been still on the playground because I didn't want to come in. And we said that we thought that was Maureen Teal
Yes.
up there.
Yeah. Yeah. And now was she in your class?
Yes.
Okay. So Diane Robinson and Maureen were both in your class. So
yes,
all these other boys and girls would have been probably younger.
right.
Yeah.
That's what I think.
Yeah.
it looks like, is that like a brick planter that those boys are standing in? Edge of some sort.
Looks a little like that, but I can't.
I don't
remember that being there, but it could have been.
Hey, look at those blue jeans rolled up.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
Yeah. Oh,
yeah. They were still in the growing stage. Those boys were still growing.
That's the
Mom.
idea. You buy a new pair of jeans,
Yep,
you make them so you can use them a while.
that's
Well, yeah,
right.
you grow taller before you grow thicker.
Yep.
Right.
I can't believe nobody recognizes that woman teacher there with all those kids.
Well, is it a teacher or mother?
Yeah, teacher or a parent.
Well, that I guess that could
Yeah.
be. But I thought
No
somebody
one commented on it. Facebook.
Not on her, no.
Mhm.
Somebody's bound to know that little kid in a striped shirt. He looks familiar to me.
Yeah.
Oh boy, there you go.
Yeah, I saw those. I thought I could
Yeah.
almost name every one of them.
I could too.
Of course,
How do you start?
yeah. Well, if you start with the speaker there, Charlie
Yeah, you know,
Whalen. Charlie Whalen.
what a good guy.
Yeah, he was a character.
He was. I liked him.
Yeah.
Bob, do you think the gym looks a little bit different?
I was going to mention that. Yeah. It's pretty bland there, isn't it?
Wow. Old steel board.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, look at the wall.
Pretty bare.
Compared to what it is now.
Right.
Mhm.
Yeah. Well, they didn't even have the mat up behind the.
No.
So I guess if you didn't get stopped, you were in trouble.
Well, you just got knocked out and replaced.
If you start down the row there, the first person is Wendell Schrader, ag teacher.
Right.
Next one
Wilma
looks like
Allen.
Wilma Allen, and the next one is Lineberger,
Dorothy
Mrs. Lineberger,
Lineberger.
then Dorothy Weaver,
Weaver.
then looks like Harriet Sluss.
It is.
Now the next lady, I don't know for sure.
I'm not for sure of that either. I see
Yeah.
the next lady next to her, I know.
Miss
Oh, yeah.
Magnuson
Mhm.
Yeah.
and
Mrs. Cox.
Mrs. Cox,
Miss
Mrs.
Dickinson.
Dickinson,
Miss Helm.
Miss Helm. I don't know about that one.
Is that the French teacher?
It's not McManus.
Okay.
It's another. I think her name. This gal's name started with the S. I think. And who's the little black-headed gal sitting there?
I don't
Don't
know.
know.
I don't know her either.
Then we have Mr. Maloney.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I don't know who the next one is for sure.
I'm not
After-
either. But next one's Bruce Nicely. I
Yeah.
think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're right. Joe Meyer.
Joe Meyer.
Yeah.
And then I don't know the next one, but then
Probably
the next
Murray because of the haircut, and
Yeah.
he's bigger than
Yeah.
everybody else.
And
one, then Bucko.
Bucko.
And then I can't see who the last one is either.
Well,
That's Butkovich there.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Could that last one be Rumley?
Well, they've got two actually there, don't they? See the way that they're sitting? Looks like
Yeah.
Yeah. I guess
guy
you're
with his legs crossed. I can
Yeah.
tell. Probably. Wait a minute. Let's see. I had Charlie. Was my freshman year.
We did pretty good on that, guys.
Yeah.
You know,
Gonna see if
That's not the only one that tall gal, but that's not Ruby Mata.
no.
No.
You know who it looks like, and I don't remember her ever teaching school. It looks like
Wayne Henniger's mom.
well, yeah,
Yeah.
Wayne Henniger's mom, and it also looked like Jim Glenn's mom.
Yeah.
But I don't remember Jim's
What would they
mom.
be doing there?
Huh?
I don't. It must be a teacher, but I sure don't know who.
I don't remember her at all, but all the others I sure remember. Well, what year? This would have had to been in about 62, wouldn't it?
Well,
Because
that's
that's-
what Russell thought. But I thought the envelope said 1960, but who knows?
Well, I don't remember what year Whalen came, but he was gone by. See, we had Whalen.
He
and
left
then,
after me, after my
then
freshman
Robertson.
year. Then we had Jack Robertson, yeah.
Right. So
Then we had Clinton Taylor.
now, see, we didn't have him. Robertson was ours the whole time.
Yeah, I went through three principals.
Who was the last one you mentioned, Bill?
Clinton Taylor. He came
Never.
from Metropolis.
Okay, I'd never heard of him.
Yeah. He was superintendent for a couple of years, and then he got one of these state jobs. You know, some of our people, that's where they went. They went to the state. Like Linebergers both went to the states.
Right.
Okay.
And when I was principal doing grants for the district, I had a question about something or the other, and I called the office and a secretary and talked to her and a little bit and everything and gave her all the information. And she said, "1 moment, please." And she came on the phone and she goes, I have a question for you. And I said, "What's that?" She said, my supervisor would like to know if it was the same Bill Englehardt that went to Tuscola schools. And I said, "Yes, it was." And I said, "I see his signature often on paperwork." I said, "Is Mr. Lineberger asking the question?" And it was Warren Lineberger was her boss.
Wow. Yeah.
So he was still working there when, of course, that would have been the early '90s when I was principal.
Right.
So he was still working. And they came back for. Did they come back for your reunion?
They came back for a homecoming or reunion, not for our reunion though, but it was probably a homecoming.
It wasn't too long ago.
No, it wasn't. It wasn't too long ago. Yeah.
Well,
I had her. She helped me. She tutored me on geometry. I remember going up to their house. They lived up there. Actually,
Northward.
Right by Northward, right across from Mike's girlfriend, right across the street.
Kitty Kish, yeah.
Kitty Kish, yeah.
Yeah, she tutored me as well.
Hey, is Buddy Whalen still alive?
Yes. Well, as far as we know, he was at our 50th reunion. Of course, that's been a few years ago, but he's still down in New Orleans.
Mm-hmm.
I've got some names. Let's see if Sue Wetzel, Gavin had any that we missed. She's got Bill Butkovich, Joe Meyer, Gene Maloney, Naomi Klassen.
Oh, there you go.
Oh, that's who that is. Yes, yes.
Yeah.
Lena Helm, Lucille Dickinson, Miriam Cox, Alberta Magnuson, Harriet Sluss, Dorothy Weaver, Wilma Allen, and Wendell Schrader.
Well, she doesn't know that. She missed that one between Sluss and Magnuson. She didn't know that one either.
Okay.
Maybe that's a one year deal.
Might have been. You'd have to look in an old yearbook.
Yeah. Well, I got some about that.
Oh, this will tell you when it is.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Back that up just a hair. Get a little clearer picture, I think. What you want to look for is the boys in the back row sometimes.
Yeah, the back row.
There's old West Gould right up there. I just saw West Gould. There's
God.
Jim Rice there on that.
There's Bob Stout.
And Bob Stout's there. So that would have been.
Yep.
Well, Bob graduated, I think, in '62 also.
This
There's
might
Judy.
be, is this 60, 61? Oh, there's Russ Long, Charlie Cooley.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I'm seeing it now.
David Wilson says sees Maury Reese, Charles Cooley, Russ Long, and Mike Weber.
Willie Yoder.
Yeah.
You see Willie Yoder?
Yeah, they've been 62.
They would all been 62 graduates, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Robert Raymond Stout. Well, they're probably separated by class. This is September. It says September 60, so they may have put, one class here, one class over here, and who knows?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That is Jim Rice sitting on the end, isn't it?
Yes.
Yes.
Look at how the girls are dressed.
Yeah. All had dresses on.
They had dresses and or skirts. I mean,
Yeah. Yeah.
I'll be darned.
Like Judy Wright.
Yeah. I think that one was
Yeah.
Judy Wright Landeck. Right there.
Yeah.
The top, very, very top there. White. And that's Jane. I think that's Jane Dunn. They were good bud, and that looks like Jan Charnetsky Seed. That's Marsha Graham.
Mm-hmm.
And,
Yeah, there's Ralph Kebb, Jane Ralph Kebb, isn't it?
where?
Right there.
I don't know. Yeah, I think that is her.
And then Wellborn.
Yeah, and Welburn.
Where are you pointing in the front row?
No,
it's
third
about
row
third
up.
row up.
Third row up.
Starting on the left. You see Judy Wright there?
Oh, I see him now.
Okay,
yeah, I
just
got him.
coming to the right.
Coming to the right, you got
Well, there's
Judy
Jeannie
Wright and
Franco
Janie
in the
Dunn.
glasses, isn't it?
Pardon?
In the white blouse with glasses.
Yes, that's Judy Wright.
Mm.
And then the next one over to her left is Jane Dunn, and then Jan Charnetsky Seed, and then Marsha Graham.
Right.
Yeah.
And then I don't know about the
There's
next
the
one.
Oak Scroll.
Yeah. Yeah. Huh.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
Yep.
Oh, this is much clearer.
Much clearer picture. Yeah.
Well, in the
That's
back
Dale
row,
Albert.
second row from the top, there's Alexander. There's Louis Leitz.
Yeah.
There's Wes Gould.
Yeah,
Yes,
and
third
then
one
Larry
in.
Otten.
Oh,
there,
Larry
too.
Otten.
Joe
Joe
Kleiss.
Oh, Mike could eat this picture up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ed Beecham.
Beecham.
Ed Beecham.
Eddie Schultz. Louis Leitz. Was that Louis Leitz?
He's in the white
Yeah.
shirt.
Yeah.
That's Louis.
And then above him, I ran into that guy.
Oh, that's John Bell sitting between them. John Bell between Alexander and Lee.
Yeah.
Sure is.
Yeah.
I see Bob Wyatt.
Yeah, Bob Wyatt.
That's Alan Jones there in that black shirt with a cowl neck. And Steve Wetzel.
Mm-hmm.
Mike Kyle.
Yeah.
Bob Wyatt. Isn't that Chaplin kid, Chapman?
Yeah, I think it is.
Roger Chaplin.
Roger Chaplin, one of the more famous touchdowns in Tuscola football.
Probably
lore.
the famous.
Pinky Cunningham. You know, somebody told me that he came into Flesser's every once in a while. But
Seriously.
but he lives in Danville. And he would come down every once in a while, but nobody really knew him for sure. That Linda Summerlot, yeah.
Bob Ard sitting there. I see
Kind
him.
of looks like Fred Holsey there in the middle.
No, that's Dale Albin.
Mhm.
Oh, okay.
There's Susan.
That's Kelly Williams next to Bob, isn't it? But next to Bob Ard. And then Junior Barbie.
There, I think that is Kelly. Yeah.
And Junior.
Junior Barbie.
Yeah.
Dave Hausman.
Yep. Mike Kyle. Sue Wetzel.
Yep.
I thought that other one was Mike, but that is Mike. I don't know who's the guy right to the left of Mike Kyle. I'm sorry, right. I'm sorry, to the right. I'm there left.
To Mike's left.
To Mike's left, yeah. Go over
Mike's left.
Just to go over just a little bit, Dave. Just move there. There you go, right at the end. Right next to Mike Kyle. Who you recognize that guy? I don't. I thought that was Mike Kyle.
I don't recognize him.
Yeah. We all thought those gals were pretty hot when we were freshmen and they were seniors. We always thought
that kid sitting by himself, Wilford Ralston.
Yes, it is. Yeah, it sure is. I forgot about him.
That'd be Pat O'Loughlin in the back on the right. In the back row there?
Yeah, because that's Charlie Dixon.
Yeah, Chuck Disher.
That's
That's
Chuck
right.
Disher, and I think that one next to him might be Dave Lecker.
And that's Carnine sitting. I think it's Carnine in the White Sox. Almost
Oh, you
looks
think
like him.
so?
I don't know.
Yeah,
Guessing.
that
Could
looks like
be.
Limna.
I think it is. Linda's asleep.
Well, he's got his hand on his head on his hand. I think that's Tim Limna.
He was bored already.
Yeah.
Hey, if you drop down right there below Wilford Ralston in the dark shirt next to Janelle Patterson is, I think that's Annette McCaney. I remember her.
Well, I don't remember that one. I know that
There's a stickle.
Barb Stickles
Stickle.
in there.
Barb.
Stickles there, and then on the very end, I can't remember what her name was. Sharon
That's Sharon Williams.
Williams. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
She's passed away. I know
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. She had two boys that went to school here.
Yes.
Oh, see in the front row, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. This is a girl that caught my attention. That's, but I never really talked to her too much. Janet Shelton.
Yes.
Hmm.
Yes. I knew that was. I had come up with that name. I can't believe I remember her, but I do remember her.
See the Densmore girl there in
Yeah.
Is that her?
No, here.
one
Densmore.
over.
Yeah.
And the next one over is that Wolf. Her last name was
Yeah. Teresa Wolf.
Teresa
Teresa
Wolf.
Wolf.
Next one I think is a Breen.
Mhm.
Yeah. You're right. Oh my goodness.
That's Jeannie Furco. I think that's Jane's sister, Jean,
Yeah.
right next to
Yeah. Is that Marianne?
Marianne Holste. Now that's Erica Steiner at the very end.
Oh, I know who's sitting in front of Kelly Williams. That's Jan Sodero. It looks like it. Maybe not. No.
I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah, I think it's her. But
Could be. Could be.
yeah.
Yeah.
Sitting behind Dale Album is a Smith kid, Ezra Smith's boy. What, Larry Smith?
Was that his
Didn't he have
name? Yeah.
Didn't he have a Corvette?
Yep. Yep. That's what I remember. He had a purple and white Corvette, about a 57 or a 58. I see his sister every once in a while still around. I saw her the other day. I can't remember where that was, at Flesser's or someplace.
That's the bigger kid in the glasses next to Pinky Cunningham is Bruce Carlson.
Yes, I'd agree.
And then that Pete Green behind him.
Yeah, that's Pete Green behind him.
Yeah, and then
Yeah.
Bob Perrin to the
Bob
left.
Perrin, yeah, and Ed Schultz. We already got him.
Good picture, Dave.
Yeah. Oh yeah, we know this one. We know some of it anyway. The guy in the white pants, the taller guy walking up, is our buddy Gail Reeder.
Yeah.
And I think that kid right beside him is Russell O'Brien. He would have been in your class, right, Bill? Wasn't it Russell O'Brien?
Yeah. Oh gosh, how can I do this? Mrs. O'Brien taught school. Remember?
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll think of it in a minute.
Other one over to Gail's left is looks to me a little bit like Denny Shuey. I can't, it's sort of cut off there, so I can't really tell, but it looks a little bit like Denny.
Possibly.
Yeah. And then that tall girl is no.
She was in your class.
She was
She's a cook, wasn't she?
yes, Brenda Cook. She had ended up with a really good job at the University of Illinois.
Huh.
And was there for quite some time, because Max would put her on the mail list, and if she wasn't in the office, it always kicked her email back, said, "I'm out of the office right now," blah blah blah. So, but she was at the U of I for quite some time.
You don't. I shouldn't even guess. This little boy here in the jeans and the V on his shirt.
Yeah.
Oh,
Oh, that's
Oh, that's a leak.
Wayne
that's
Leach.
Leeds. That's Wayne Leeds.
I think it is.
Yeah.
I really do.
It is.
That'd be
Yeah.
Tammy's dad.
That's Tammy's dad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. Oh
She
my
was-
goodness.
Yeah. That's a 59 Oldsmobile there at the very end of the drive. I remember that car. So that's about the right. And those, when you look across the street there of the two houses, neither one of those houses are there anymore. The one to the right is the Methodist Church parsonage, and the one to the left was one, I can't remember. They tore it, it got torn down. I think that's where all that parking lot is now for the old Methodist church.
The old Methodist church. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And then you can't see it on the screen, but on to the left is where, I think Chris tore that house down, but Ronnie Cooper, one of our classmates, lived there when we were growing up.
Ronnie Cooper was here in town the other day.
Yeah.
Did you get to hear from him or anything?
No, I didn't. But I know I heard him say that he was asking about some of us. He lives down I think he lives in Fairfield now. He used to live in a little town called Golden or something.
Yeah.
Golden Gate.
Golden,
Okay.
yeah.
He was the mayor.
Mhm. Yeah, I think he was the mayor of Golden Gate.
And by the way, Bill, Max got a hold of Charlie Disher here a few weeks
No
ago.
fooling.
Yeah,
Where is he now?
Mississippi. And I
Mississippi.
think that's where he went to when they left here.
That was right after he graduated because his dad was killed in an accident.
Yes,
he was.
yes, he was.
He drove for Eckhoff or Bowen, someone out the plant.
Right.
You're right. You're absolutely right. He really was a nice kid. He was very quiet.
Yep.
Didn't say too much, but he was a pretty nice kid.
He was a manager.
Yes.
I know Bukovich and Murray, they liked him. He was a basketball manager and football manager.
Yeah.
That's Mrs. Flume on the bottom right. Right?
I don't know any of them.
Said the Legion Hall.
Yeah, I can relate to. I think that's right, but I don't know
This guy on the left standing looks familiar, but I can't put a name to him.
But I don't have any comments online, and they've had 2 weeks to look at them. But
the lady on the lower right.
That's who I thought was Mrs. Flume.
Oh, you did? Well, you might be right. You might be right.
And the lady in the center actually looks familiar, but I'm not going to guess.
Yeah, I'd just be guessing.
This is where I need Mike.
Yeah.
Right or wrong.
Yeah.
well, he's not
Right or
afraid to
wrong.
guess. He'll guess with authority.
That's right.
This looks like same location as the earlier picture.
Yeah.
Boy, don't you remember, Bob, you'd carry in your bag of goodies for the start of school year.
Oh, yeah.
That little girl's petrified. Big sister's hanging on to her.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's right.
They're all dressed up so nice. First day. Isn't that something?
Sure changes in a hurry, though.
You notice we didn't have bicycle racks. We just parked our bikes there and went in.
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
We know a lot of those. We know a lot of those.
Go ahead, boys.
Well, Sonia Reese Stickle is the one on the very far left. Then Dorinda Knapp.
Mary.
And then Mary Toomey, who is our classmate. I don't know the lady. And I don't know the younger girls.
Well, the middle one is Susan Burris.
Yes, it is. Yep.
It's who?
Susan Burris.
I think you're right.
Rena Matthews says Alice Northway, bottom right.
Or
Okay.
could be, it'd be.
Yeah. Little Northway had brothers.
And she was the oldest of that family, wasn't she, Alice?
Yeah, I don't know. I was trying to think of that one boy. Dale Northway, Northway.
Well, Ray Northway, he worked for me a little bit at the lumberyard when he was also, that was his second job. He worked at the U of I as in the maintenance end of it. He's a guy that taught me how to wash windows.
Really?
And I thought about Ray. He wasn't the sharpest knife in the drawer, but there was his abilities to do janitorial services, which he probably learned at the U of I, were really very, very good. He really had some talent in it. But I remember him telling first thing you don't do is put water on a window. You wipe it down. You don't try to get all the dust and dirt off, because he said you put water on it, just makes mud. And he was right.
Yeah.
You try to wipe it down with a towel or something first, and then you go to the water. And he really was pretty good, very good at it.
Front left is Rena Matthews.
On the very bottom there, yeah. Well, that'd be about the right
Matthews
age for, yeah.
And that's according to Danny Matthews.
Yeah. Nobody came up with the lady though, right?
I don't guess so.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. What a great picture.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
That's probably the old Southward School, don't you imagine?
I imagine, but that second kid there, now I'm looking at these boys' faces. He sure looks familiar. God.
Yeah, at first I thought maybe it was the like the music room off the cafeteria at the old North Ward. It had an outside door like that, but I wouldn't know what these stairs were.
Well, that's almost like the fire. Well,
It's going the other way. It's going up another building.
And there's
yeah,
a
well,
parking lot.
there was a fire escape on the west end of the old North Ward School, but I
Right.
don't remember a fire escape on at the Southward School. Do you, Mom?
They had a tube.
Had a tube.
Yeah, they had a tube, but
Like what the hospital had.
yeah, yeah. And there was one in that Methodist church parsonage too.
Well, and I kind of wonder, but if this was the music room off the cafeteria, and if that was part of the Methodist church behind there, it's facing the wrong direction. So this could be,
Yeah.
and none of those front classrooms had doors to the outside.
You know what we need is Andrea just left for a thing uptown, but she taught at both the South Ward and the North Ward.
Right.
So she would be able to identify this picture looking through there.
Well, those outside steps on the west end, that was before they added the addition. Is that correct, or after?
On
I know
the
they were there
annex?
before,
Is that what you're
No,
saying, Tom?
they were still there.
because they went from the second floor auditorium down, right?
That's correct. That's correct. So that's why I can't relate to that either. But he may have been right that if that's across the street, that might have been at the Methodist church. Because that ramp that they built in later years,
There was steps there.
I think there were steps there. So it could be at Northward looking out the window at the steps across the street at the old Methodist church.
I would think someone would know this. Some of these kids, possibly, especially this little boy with his hands folded on his desk.
Yeah, he almost looks familiar, but
yeah, he does to me.
Well, I got names on the two boys.
Oh, good.
Well, here you go.
They're twins. Billy and Mike Parker.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Yeah.
Dick Parker.
Dick Parker's kids.
Dick and Maggie.
Yeah.
Isn't that something?
Wow.
His kids must be spread apart. I think Kelly's quite a bit younger, isn't she?
Kelly was No, I don't even want to. I can see her, but I can't remember what year she graduated.
Yeah, I don't remember.
Well,
Maybe
did Maggie work with you, Dave, at the newspaper?
no, no, but Dick um was he treasurer on the council?
Yeah, he was treasurer, I think, and then he also had the gamble store.
Right. So I remember him from that.
Still have a picture, or we did, at the library of Dick Parker for his service to the library on the trustees, if you will.
Yeah.
I used to go down and chat with him when he had the gambles there, and I remember buying some wallpaper from him.
He had a big wallpaper store there. He was about
Yes,
the
he
only one
did.
in the he's about the only one in the game at that time.
But
Mhm.
back there, back in the 80s, different downtown back then. I remember going in and said, Dick, maybe you ought to run some advertising, get some customers in here. And he said, I don't really want any customers. He said, I just maintain this as a place to go during the day. My friends can come and hang out, and if I happen to sell something, that's okay. But I'm not trying to get them people in here.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well,
Ruth
that's
Burris.
Ruth Burris on the very left. Yeah.
Mrs.
That's
Burris lived to be ripe old age.
yes, she did.
Yeah.
And was she a nice lady? I would make a special attempt to visit with her whenever I would see her out with maybe with her daughter and her grandson, because she remembered me from when we were little, because she worked in the toy department of the Wellworth store for years. And
Yes, she did.
she would always watch you come in when you were buying bean shooters and all the caps for your cap gun and all that. But she was really a nice lady.
Now, is the lady on the far right Mrs. Northway?
Yes, I think that's who that is.
Yeah. Well, Danny Matthews says Alice Northway, but I didn't know if that was her name or tagging somebody.
That's right.
Alice was I thought was
Alice was the daughter. Lois was the mother.
Okay.
Yes, you're right.
Yeah.
So
And I think that lady in the middle looking at her, I think that's Mrs. Ron Thompson.
Yeah, I believe you're right.
That was our another
right.
classmate, Becky Thompson. Her dad used to have the Marathon bulk
Mobile
plant, didn't he?
station.
Yeah.
Station.
A station. Yeah.
Caddy corner from the funeral home there on the corner
Right.
where Benich is.
Yeah, that's right.
Jack Shook worked for him.
Yeah. Yes, he did.
They had a good station.
Yeah.
He's raised in the middle.
Yeah, that's him.
Yeah. I don't know the other two either.
I'm looking, but I don't know.
Paula Smith Thomas says might be Shirley Neal, far back right corner with hand resting on her face.
That's possible.
Now I'm gonna give you a real good one here, Bob. You and Alan will have to look at this carefully. If he closes in above Ian Reese, you see half a man's head.
Yeah.
It's Gene Carpenter.
Yep. It
Yeah,
is.
you're exactly
it sure
right.
is.
So Tracy's got to be in there somewhere.
Somewhere.
Well, maybe not, because they didn't get married till late in life. So she might
Well,
not
at
have.
this time, though, they got married late in life, but I think, when the folks went to work for them in the store, that was 64. They were together. I think they were together before 60, but because they had the daughter, Becky was with them.
Yeah. Gene's mom and dad used to live next door to my family when we lived over on Houghton Street. We lived at 210 East Houghton, and Gene's mom and dad lived right next door, to the west.
Huh.
Is that Al Shields?
I don't know. Could be.
Can't tell. Albert would have on glasses, wouldn't he?
According to Danny Matthews, that's Lauren Matthews.
Lauren.
Oh yeah,
Okay,
yeah, I
This-
can
and
see
this
that.
is Danny, and this is his mother Ellen with her head turned.
Wow.
He says that's his dad telling him to pipe down.
Yeah. Well, that's
That's
pretty.
pretty good.
That's pretty good picture. We did pretty good on that.
Want to do better here.
Well, that guy in the sitting down in the hat, that looks like Bud Weaver, but I don't know.
Well, who's this
Oh,
lady?
that lady, I've seen her. She used to work in a store. I just can't remember which store she worked in. I remember.
This is Danny Matthews again, and his dad
Yeah.
back here in uniform.
Yeah.
He says probably Tracy Carpenter far left.
Right there. That's,
Yeah.
yeah, I'd
Yep.
say.
He's right.
I think you're probably right.
Yep.
And there was Gene right there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh boy. Oh,
Yeah,
that's
there's
Tracy Carpenter.
There's Tracy on the left. Yeah. I don't recognize the others.
Ellen Matthews on the right.
Okay, so that's Danny's mother.
I'm guessing.
Yeah. There's that
Oh,
picture you're talking about.
Here's what I was
That's
thinking.
rumbling on the left, we think.
Yes, it is.
Yeah,
Yeah, I thought we already had this picture.
we did. We had that last week, I think.
That particular picture we did?
I think so.
Well, one or one like it.
Yeah. See, can you blow that up just a little bit?
Yeah, which side you want blown up?
Well, just right like it is. Just pull it in or blow it up, whatever. I wanted to see who. Okay, whoa. Yeah, I don't know. I'm looking at 42, Bill.
Okay.
Is that
42 looks like
Denny Shuey? Looked like Denny Shuey, I thought. And
Oh, I
next
see
to
what
him-
you're saying now.
And
Yeah,
next
it
to
does
him
look
is
like
Gail
Shuey.
Reeder, I think.
Huh?
And I
Next to
think
it?
next to him is Gail Reeder.
You think this is freshman or freshman watching the varsity? or
No, I
something?
think it's a freshman watching or playing against the varsity or practicing.
That's Tom Grubb, isn't it?
Yeah, I think Tom Grubb on the left without a number.
Oh, I see.
You see?
Yeah. By golly, you might be right.
And I think I told Alan this, but right in front of Denny, what we think is Denny and Gail, I would almost think that almost looks like me,
I think so too.
but I don't know if it is or not.
I'll be
Did
darned.
we think the very guy on the very far right, didn't we think that was Dick Bean?
Yes.
Looks like Dick Bean, doesn't it, in a way? The guy handed off, and I don't know who it is, and I forget when Ed didn't play football.
I know it looks like Ed.
Yeah.
He didn't play football as a senior,
No.
I'm sure.
No.
I tell you what, as freshmen, that was one of Bukovich's biggest treats, was to put the freshmen up against the varsity.
He loved it.
He loved that stuff.
Yeah.
But that is Rumley, though.
That's definitely rumbly.
Yeah. Now, that house in the background is no longer there.
Lester's house is gone.
It's
Yeah,
gone.
I wonder what happened to that house. I think the house didn't look to be that bad a shape to be torn down.
It wasn't. So they're building something there. Somebody is. You know, I saw the.
Schrock has a sign up there now, and somebody dropped off a bunch of trusses.
I saw that. I saw the Luster girls and the brother and a couple other people, and they were moving stuff out of the house. I saw them that day. I drove down Daggy Street.
Well,
But
the
they-
only ones that lived there was they had the mother and they have a mentally challenged daughter. I think that's the only
Yeah,
two that lived there.
she's still living. And of course, when we think of the boys, of course,
Yeah, Dale and Dennis.
Dennis was in my class.
Right.
Dale was younger, a couple of years.
Yeah.
But and then the girl, the oldest daughter, that really has been helpful with the girl that the mentally challenged, if you will.
Right.
Huh.
Karen must have been, was she the youngest then?
I
I'm
don't
not for sure. I
the
can't.
only one that I ever really remember was Dale and Dennis.
Yeah.
That's the only ones I really remember.
Karen
The
was in
others
my
were younger.
class. Karen was in my class and she's passed.
Remember, Mrs. Luster used to have that garden,
Yes.
yes.
Oh, yes.
a big garden every year.
Big garden.
Mr. Luster worked to plant, and they lived in that house there across from the school.
I just can't understand them tearing that house completely down.
I don't know, but they're building something there.
Yeah.
I bet. Here we go. Let's
Okay.
take the bets. It's going to be a pole building with the trusses and stuff that they've got.
They're big trusses, but
Yeah.
so I don't know. But where
Yeah,
would
but
I don't know where the family would have gone because I know there's still people living there.
They were living there.
Yeah. Well, that's Warren Matthews on the very far right, but no, I don't think so. Yeah, that might be Daryl Ford.
But Katrina
Second.
Wynn says, Katrina Colbecker,
Says that is Daryl.
second from left. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Another football picture.
Yeah.
Yeah. Who's the line coach there? Looks awful skinny for Bucko.
Looks a lot like Bob Arnold, but he wasn't here then.
No,
That's the same year.
no, he wouldn't have been here.
No, he wouldn't have been here at that time.
This Daggy Street behind him.
That's
Yes.
Daggy,
Yeah.
Cassini's place.
Now, look how crappy that football field looks compared to the way that it is now.
Well, this is the practice field, isn't it?
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Go by there and take a look at the practice field now. It's better than a lot of the fields kids play on.
Well, didn't Winky do a lot for that? Didn't
Yes.
Stan Winky?
Yes.
He did a lot for,
And still,
and still does, I think, a lot for
yeah.
making that pretty nice.
The way it looks, yeah.
Yeah.
Boy, look at that background, though. No East Prairie.
No East Prairie is right. Ag shop's long gone too.
Gosh,
Wow.
recognize any of them?
I don't know.
Guy standing there with his hand on his hip in the back. Almost looks like Paul Donnelly. This is hard to tell.
It is hard.
Yeah.
Well, Mike needs to get back, and he'd have every one of these guys
That's
That's
Rumbly. That's
The
Rumbly.
guy up by Rumbly,
Clifford.
Clifford. Clouser.
Klaus.
Cliff Clauser.
Cliff Klauser. Yeah.
These are all the older guys, I think, at that time. And some were standing like Pangburn.
Yeah.
It does look like Pangburn. But I thought it looked like Donnelly,
Yeah.
too, Yeah, that field looks like crap.
Yeah.
Oh boy, here we go.
I recognize one of these.
Damn right, there's Bucko.
Oh,
Hands,
yeah.
hands on his hips, and that's Murray.
Yeah.
Murray there.
Yep.
Wow.
I knew these would be hard to identify, especially with the helmets on, but kind of fun anyway.
Yeah, it is.
Hey, back it all the way. The guy in the back row standing without a helmet on. To your left.
Without a helmet on. Okay.
Okay.
Hmm.
Hmm.
Can't tell.
Is that a
Can't guess.
crew cut?
Yeah.
Wow.
Better not try to guess.
Mm-mm. That house is sure changed. That's behind there. Isn't that the old Flanagan house?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, Warren's built a home there, you know. On the right there. That's where all those signs are, David, and everything.
Flanagan
It's
homes
by
over
the
there.
shop.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah.
The second house is a classmate of mine lives there now. That's Shirley Benner.
Right.
I don't know what that is.
Yeah, you do. It's on Daga Street.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, there's the old shed.
Yeah.
Used to be the ticket office, and
Ticket
the
booth.
ticket
Concession
booth,
stand.
and the concession stand, all in there.
Right. All in one.
Yeah. This be Hilgendorf's house right behind
Yeah.
Bucko's head.
That'd be Van Allen Street back there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So that's Steve Hilgendorf's house, and then the next one over is where old classmate Denny Obrick used to live.
I'm going to go out on a limb and say that tall guy facing Bucko could be Bob Wyatt.
He was pretty
Possibly.
tall.
He's tall.
Yeah.
Taller than Butkovich, it looks like.
Yeah.
Everybody was taller than Buckovich.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He wasn't super tall.
You just weren't bigger than Buckovich.
No. No.
No, you didn't want to mouth off to him.
We didn't we decide? No, let's just.
Where that road is?
Yeah, we thought that one time we thought that was prairie, but not with the house that's behind it. So.
Hmm.
And that's the old King and Will's and Lemna Moore and Carroll building.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
When was that building built?
Oh,
Oh, it was in the 50s.
Yeah.
Late 50s.
It's kind of dated architecturally, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, it probably at the time was pretty state of the art.
Yeah,
Pretty modern.
Jim Lemna built that house out at Patterson Springs in 1960. Because Tim, I remember they moved out there about 1960, and I would say this building was built just about the same time. Doc Deaver was in there along with Doc Hill, and then in this end, and then the other end was Lemna and Lee at that time. Right. And so I don't know, but I would say right about 60 is just about the time it was built. This picture could have been one of right brand new.
Yeah, they're saying Doc Daly was there at one time.
Doc Daly was there at one time, and
Doc Deaver, Doc Hill.
Yeah.
It does have some landscaping done already, so
yeah,
those bushes, or is that, are those bushes or are those?
Yeah, I think they're bushes.
Yeah, those
all the mechanicals were on the back side of that building, not on the front side. So
right,
I think they were just shrubs that were in there. Yeah.
Hey, Bob, did Tim Lemna have a 1940 Ford or something?
Yep, he sure did.
That's what I thought.
He talked about that not too long ago about how his mom sold it, and because we always kidded him about still getting a hold of it.
Golly.
And he said that his mom sold that I don't know when. That's when he went away to school.
I
Or
think
something.
so.
Let's see.
Yeah, this is an interesting picture. This is,
Yeah.
and I don't really remember, because see that would be the west side of the old Methodist Church, and they made a lot of major changes, and that it was during the time frame that I was not here. There's another picture that's coming right behind this, I think, showing them putting a big I-beam in, and it's got a picture of Dick Lake, and they're putting a I-beam in there for something. I think they had a balcony. It seemed to me like they had a balcony up there, because we had Sunday school classes up there, and then they changed the entrance to come in from the south side there, and took those steps out, and so it was all in.
And those double doors came out.
Yeah, yeah, those were all taken out. So, but I can't remember what year. Undoubtedly, if these pictures are back from the '60s again, undoubtedly this was in the '60s. But a lot of that was done after I went away to school.
Well, the next picture is not coming up. Some must have been here in the front.
Yeah, there's where they're putting that big beam. That was on the west side of the. That's on the west side of the building. That's Dick Lake standing beside that.
Yeah, I can tell that's Dick Lake.
Yeah, right beside the grader there.
Using that tractor to push that beam in.
Yes, yeah.
Whoa,
Yeah.
that's some kind of project.
That was a heck of a project at that time. Didn't have the boom truck, or didn't have the big cranes to deal with it like then.
Well, they figured out a way.
Yep. Dick and K.O. Lake both, their initial entry into the construction game was in road and bridge work and highway construction. When they came from down around Effingham area, I think that's what their dad was in that business. And then of course they went away they were both in World War II, and when they came back then later, I don't know, I think it was in the late 50s, maybe, when they started into the regular residential construction business.
They were, Dick Lake was a P-51 fighter pilot.
Yes.
And you know who else was from Tuscola? Actually from Hinesboro. But he certainly had Tuscola ties, because we knew all his boys. It was Dana Bishop's dad.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know K.O. was also a pilot too.
Was he?
Yeah.
Dick actually, he shot down a couple of planes.
Yeah.
I think Gordon Adams got his start working for the Lakes.
He did.
Before he had his own.
Yeah.
Well, it was a good start, because they were good builders.
Yes, they were. They were. Well, the first one that I remember after I moved back here was, in fact, they were in the process of building it when I moved into town. After I got out of the service, they were building Liga's restaurant and Liga's house. In fact, the two of them were still working together as Lake Construction at that time, and then shortly after that, they split and went their own ways and had their own different companies.
I actually played golf with Dick Lake.
Mm-hmm.
He liked to play golf.
Yes,
he was really a nice guy, and his home is there on North Line.
Right.
Yeah.
And of course, K.O. building his in Parkview.
Yeah. They were two totally different guys. So, I mean, I knew both of them, and they were, K.O. was extremely focused, and Dick was a little more flighty. I don't know how to explain that, but I mean, he was into a little bit of everything, and K.O. was just really focused on his work, and of course he had a place down at Lake Sarah that he had several different places down at Lake Sarah. that his family would go. He always talked about it was always a good deal for the family, but he said it was never a good deal for me because I go down there and work all weekend. So.
Mhm.
Hey,
Yep.
Bill,
Yo,
along the line of carpenters, but this isn't a carpenter question. Quentin had a Japanese rifle. And didn't you end up with that? Do you still have that?
no, it's in the museum.
Oh, it is.
Now let me get my bearings straight on it. Quentin had that up above in his garage, and it was somehow Dad was over there. Quentin did a lot of work for Mom and Dad, remodeling and things. And Dad saw that and said something to Quentin about it. Quentin sold it to him. Yeah. Good way to get a few extra dollars.
Sure.
I mean, it actually had the bayonet on the end of it.
Yeah. Did he tell you the story about how he came across that?
Yeah. There's the bullet hole through the stock on that rifle.
Right.
It was a sniper rifle.
Yeah.
Wow.
Go ahead, Bob. Tell it.
Well, the story he always told us was, and this was when he was on Guam,
Mhm.
and I don't know if he was on night guard or whatever it was, but this Japanese soldier came out of the woods and surrendered because he was starving to death. He wanted food.
No kidding.
Yeah. And Quentin ended up with the rifle some way. Not sure how they.
So what museum? What museum is that in, Bill?
Douglas County.
Oh, it's here.
Okay.
If, forgive me,
Yeah.
it wasn't set aside or lost or
Sure.
whatever.
Yeah.
We went through a little period of time where there were some things that were, to me, which I had donated to the museum. I should say we, Andrea and I donated to the museum. For instance, two pictures, Lincoln and Washington, that hung in my classroom at Arcola. Big. Remember how you used to have the pictures of the president?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. Well, they got shuffled to the side somehow. And what was special about those pictures was Bill Hill took those pictures to clean them up. And when he opened up the frame and everything, on the back were the class, a teacher had put her name, country school in Arcola, along with the kids' names that were in that class, like 1935,
Wow.
34, whatever.
Wow.
Well, come to find out, I'm going to have to look it up again. One of the boys that signed that was the first Arcola boy killed in World War II.
Huh.
On a training flight, he was in the States, but he was killed. And when he died, I know they lowered the flags in Arcola to half staff when they brought his body home and everything.
Mm-hmm.
But his signature was on there in that school. And there were a couple other names that I recognized because they're, Arcolians. And I made a point of telling them at the museum that you might want to use this for your school exhibit.
Mhm.
Well, somehow or the other, I don't know where those pictures are. And the director at that time claimed that they didn't, even though I signed all the paperwork and everything for them, it
Wow.
was gone. The rifle, though, Dad bought the rifle. Then how was it? Dad left. I wanted the rifle. He gave me the rifle. I would use the rifle at school when I was teaching. And I'd
Sure.
bring it to school and show them this is what it was. Now, can you imagine me walking into the school now with a
Oh my gosh.
rifle with a bayonet on it? My gosh,
You'd still be in jail.
I'd still be in jail. Well, anyway, the kids loved it. Obviously, seeing
Sure.
that rifle is a part of history and part of the World War II unit we were teaching in Japan or whatever, And I always gave credit to Quentin for being the one who had that.
Huh.
But whether that guy came out of the jungle like that hungry, which is probably the true story behind that, it did have a hole
Yeah, it did have a bullet
in
hole
the
in it.
stock,
Hmm.
bullet hole in the
Yeah.
stock.
Yeah.
So, but that was a real long thing with a bayonet on that thing was huge.
Yeah.
Uh, I don't know if it's there or not.
Hmm.
Be something to check.
Might have to check that out.
Yeah.
We've got a new director at the museum.
Yeah. And I know Eric Alexander's pretty involved with that now.
Well,
Is he
I
is
know
he on the board?
Kim McGee is too,
I
and,
think
and he
so, yeah.
Kim's he's a big Civil War weapons buff. So
Yeah,
he
McGee's
he
from
would he would
Newman.
probably know about if there's
Yeah.
a weapon there like that.
McGee's from Newman.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Larry Bushu, who's since passed, he was on the board at one time, and I knew that from an Arcola standpoint, he would want those two pictures that
Right.
had been in the schoolrooms
Mhm.
display. It'd be nice for a school display, which
Sure.
they used to have,
Right.
but I don't know.
Yeah.
Now, David's sister, Roberta, when they had a little museum downtown Arcola, it had a little school section,
Mm-hmm.
which was really neat. The whole little museum was neat, and I think that's moving to the second floor of the new building
Well, there'll be a museum
Palace.
at the Broome Palace. Um, a lot of the stuff was returned to donors when they closed the other museum, so I don't know what the new one will look like. And but there'll be a museum there. But yeah, things have changed. I just found I couldn't find the picture I was looking for, but I did find when I was in school we had a play, a school play, and we all had guns. I don't know if you can see that
Oh
picture.
yeah. Yeah.
So there I am. You can't see my gun, but that's David Kimball. You can see his gun, Mark Smalling,
Yeah.
Glenn
Mhm.
Hetker. So not sure you'd get by with even doing that today.
Probably
No,
not.
probably not.
Probably not a good idea.
I was seeing something the other day and talking about how, and not necessarily here, but I know in the South it was a much bigger deal. But kids would go to school in a pickup truck with a gun rack hanging in the
Yeah,
back and a gun hanging in it, so they could go hunting after school. As
right.
soon as school got out, they could go
Well, a
and
lot of
go
times that's
all.
just where they kept it.
That's just where they kept it. That's right.
Well, that's all of our pictures for this week. We had
Okay.
quite a few of them there.
Well, I enjoyed it. That was good. Good pictures.
Well, next week I'll get to the ones that Alan dropped off and we'll have fun with those.
Yeah. Well, I think we'll know it. I think you guys will know a lot of those people in there, but I think it was all from about 1955, 1956 high school graduates and their senior pictures. And I think
Oh, that'll be fun.
I think
Yeah.
we'll know a lot of those.
Well, I've been told that someone is anxious to get back on the program and
Well,
share
we'll
with
be
us
anxious.
his knowledge.
We're anxious to get him back.
Yeah.
We're ready when he is.
Well, we'll hope that's sooner than later. Believe me,
Yeah.
he's looking forward to it.
Good deal.
A lot of people ask about him.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. He knows and he appreciates it. Yeah, it should be here in the works before long. Real
Good.
happy that he is
Good.
feeling better.
Well, anything else going on?
Who's your sponsor this week, David?
Well, I didn't have new pictures, but Trust Bank and Elite Builders are our two sponsors that help keep us going.
What bank?
Well, we've enjoyed it.
Trust me.
Yeah.
We've enjoyed it today.
Absolutely.
Good deal.
All right. Well, thanks for coming on, and we'll see you next week on Remembering Tuscola.